Welcome to Synthetic Oil Protection. I'm your host Eben, and today we're going to be sharing some very interesting information with you. It's inspired a lot of thought over the years. We're going to talk a little bit about starting a video series of your mechanic doesn't know how to take care of your car. It's a weird thing. You'd say, well, why wouldn't they? Well, we're going to get into that. Start with a small little tale with our good man Doug here, and we're going to share some real world experience. So Doug, tell them first, how did we even meet each other?
Well, I think we met right here.
Mm-hmm.
We were just hanging out and started talking. I think it's hard for me. I don't even remember how we started talking, but enjoying. It's a nice place, a nice spot. And you brought up the car thing that you do.
Sure.
That you have a YouTube channel.
Sure.
I was complaining about mechanics being, shady. And
if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe right here. That way you'll be able to come back and watch the videos on how to improve the performance and lifespan of your vehicles by choosing the right fluids. Little notification bell.
Give you a buzz on your phone.
Often than not, it's hard to find a good one. I don't know, that's always, we kicked off, then you told me you showed me some magic tricks and acquaintance on the block.
Nice. Let's talk about your experience with the recent service he had done that he told me about just today. He got into some more details. I lost some stomach muscle power and I was rolling around in the grass a little bit, not really laughing at him, but laughing at the situation because it's almost like a little hamster that gets on this wheel. The creature is doing its own thing and it's almost as if it doesn't even have a brain. When you look at it closely, you say, why does this creature do that? They all seem to. Today we're going to explain why people, being the hamster, get on the wheel and end up in this position, and we're going to kind of start at the negative impact of it and kind of backtrack and say how to never have this happen so you don't ever have that happen to you, and if it's happened to you before, it won't happen again because it's almost like history repeats itself. People do things again and again and again and try to give you the best knowledge so you never have to do this again. Start with the very beginning with the coil. There was a coil situation. What was this?
Well, this was the thing. It was a spark plugs in the coil. Like, it's just a car wouldn't start, right? And so at that point you got to tow it, right? And so you tow the car to the mechanic that you know of, right? That you kind of think, okay, they might do, that's all I know right now. So you drop your car off there and they do an estimate, right? And they tell you like, oh, we got to do. But what they did was they held on to the car for 3 days. They made themselves look like they're a sought out mechanic, and you just kind of pick up that something's not right here. They're not being 100% honest. And then they tell you what's going on, but at that point you're like, well, I can't just change my mind and go there and drive off with my car.
Sure,
because it
in pieces.
won't go.
Yeah,
right. They go like, oh, okay. So they had you waiting 3 days, and they go like, oh, we got this, and this, and they give you an estimate, and then it ends up being a lot more in the end than what the initial estimate. And later, you just have to go from a car mechanic to a car mechanic until you find one that's actually reasonable. What I actually had to trial and error and, just paid $500 or more that I should have. I could have, I don't know, not.
Yeah.
So, it's just something you learn how to. Basically, people tell you who they are.
Sure. Sure. I like that.
It's just kind of you just have to pay attention.
I like that.
It's how they talk to you. It's just you intuitively pick it up. And I was like, there's something shady. But no, the cognitive dissonance kicks in and you're like, oh, no, they're good. They're whatever. You end up paying for it. You end up seeing another mechanic later on and they go yeah, they charge you $500 more at least than you should have learned the hard way.
And now you don't have to, so we're able to share this whole experience. So I'm going to ask some more questions and we'll dig a little deeper. So the first coil thing, what was the first sign of this? Was it a sputter? Was it a check engine light? What was this first problem that said to you something's wrong?
Well, at first the car would kind of like sputter out, you know, it'll like turn on and then sputter out. And then one day it just didn't start, right? And
wow.
And
wow, that's
you
weird.
know, I mean, you get warning signs always, you know, like you always get like it's always with that stuff. It's the first sign that you should pay attention to, because the worst is gonna yet to come.
Sure.
So that's exactly what happened. And then there was like, you know, they're like, this is the thing, like they give you a really good estimate, you know, so they kind of like come off as like they know what they're doing. I mean, they do know what they're doing, but
and this is one of the things I always like to tell people, and this is just being honest. Every mechanic, whether they know how to fix your car or not, this isn't saying mechanics are bad people, because they're not. I have a lot of friends that are mechanics. Just so you know, I'm not a mechanic, and I don't have any degrees. I just like to help people. And
I thought about doing it, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a fun thing, and it's a good thing to know. It's like being a doctor, you know.
Sure, it really is like being a doctor, and you have some good doctors, you have some okay doctors, and the same thing with mechanics. And we're not ever trying to get at any mechanics. There's a lot of great mechanics out there, but they're all gonna pretend that they know how to fix your car, because if they don't say they know how to fix it, they're gonna go, oh, well then I'll just take my car over here. I mean, that's it. It's gonna happen that quick. So they're all gonna say they know how to fix it, and the only way to know for sure is if you do the due diligence and talk to someone that had the same thing done in their car, and they've already had someone do it, and you have a personal referral, or you go on Google Maps, and that's what they specialize in. Like you have a diesel guy that's all he does is that truck, or you got a guy that does that car. Now there's so many makes and models, and if any mechanic says they know everything about cars, I'm just gonna tell you they don't, because there's mechanics that are 60, 70 years old, and they tell me, and I know they're a good mechanic, and they're honest, and they tell me they don't know much about cars. I've been doing cars for 17,000 hours, reading Car and Driver, Motor and Track, all the major magazines, Car and Driver, Road and Track, Motor Trend, watching videos on YouTube, working on my Corvette, working on all these cars on my channel. I have 900 videos on YouTube, and I know this much about cars of all makes and models. Now the Corvettes, do I know a good amount? Sure, because I had a Corvette. But of all cars, I don't know. And so many mechanics think, oh, I know all about these cars, and they just have no idea. So let's find out how these people had no idea. So what was the first thing that they said that they couldn't fix right away or something?
No, it was just really weird. It was like, why am I waiting for like 4 days for you? Like, you don't have time to get to my car, you know?
So what was the answer to that, to the 4-day wait?
They were just swamped with like other work and other cars and whatnot. You know, it just didn't make any sense. You know, I think they did it on purpose to maybe, I don't know. It's just everything just came off sketchy. So, the thing is, like, it's not that they, maybe, you know, this is the thing. Like, I think that they know what's going on. They figure it out, but they were just trying to like upsell whatever they're, you know, like trying to like, because they could see like, okay, this is wrong too, but then it just didn't, until I found a better mechanic, it didn't make it all made sense. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this guy charged me like half amount of money, and was just the way his body language and everything, the way he talked was completely different. So it's stuff where people get you with whatever your insecurity is, or whatever you're sensitive to. That's how they get you. Like, if you really care about your car and you're sensitive to it and you want it, you know, taken care of and whatnot, people will play that angle. People who are manipulative, at it to their advantage.
Sure.
And you're gonna fall for it because you that's your soft spot.
Sure.
You know, So that's how I did, and I was like, I need to get this car done as soon as possible. I need, in my mind, like, I need this as soon as possible. You're not thinking out, you know, your attention span is very narrow, broadband, so because you're in this almost kind of like stressed out fear, you know, way of thinking, survival. You're not really thinking creatively, or you're not, you know, thinking of other options, you know. So in that case, what happens more often than not, you just have to get burnt a few times until you finally get, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna like deal with this anymore. A perfect example was, I had an alternator that was bad. It was scraping, you know, like it was just scraping a lot.
Is that the first thing you mentioned to me when we talked?
This was this was a prior issue that I had with someone else, right?
All right.
So a friend of mine recommended me a mechanic, right? So I went to this mechanic that a friend of mine recommended, right? And I go there and I leave the car, I come and pick it up the next day, and I was like, well, what happened? He's like, oh, you know, like, it's scraping, I'll just oil it a little bit. So like, the car waited there for like 2 days, and then I come to pick up the car. He said he didn't do anything. He told me. He was like, oh yeah, I just oiled it a little bit. That's what he told me. He lied. I pick up the car. The alternator was still scraping.
What the?
And he didn't want to take any money from me, but I just like felt bad, and I don't know, gave him $20. So I thought he fixed it, so I gave him $20 before I drove off. But he didn't want. He was kind of like, he didn't do anything, so he didn't want to say anything. So he just lied. And then I'm like, you know, like, it's really like there's this whole like underworld that you have to deal with.
Wow.
You know, that's really fucked up.
It
you
is.
know?
It is.
And this is the thing. You can take your car to a proper dealership or whatever ownership, but you'll be overpaying like insane. You know how much they charge, like Pep Boys or any of those like Meineke, you know, like they charge like, it's insane. Like it's like, why would you?
$200 an hour?
Yeah.
They'll put on paper like 140, but with the actual time that they worked on it, they only worked on it for say 2 hours, but you're billed out at 3.5. So they say it's 150 an hour, but they really are charging 210. So it's like, what is it worth to take care of your car? You have to ask yourself this, to not have these problems, to not have a lot of repairs. And you know, we can't answer that for everybody because everyone's at a different spot in their life.
Well, yeah, like I didn't want, you told me, like we talked about this, like, you know, the best thing is for you to learn how to yourself to work on your car.
Sure.
But I'm just not confident enough beyond a certain level, like changing a tire or just doing, it's just not, and at the car itself, it's not like a 91 Camry where like everything is there, you know what I mean? And you just pull it out. And
so tell them what car you have.
Mitsubishi Eclipse, 4-cylinder 2003, so it's a 20-year-old car. It's a nice car, I really liked it. It's convertible, and it has a good engine. It's a good car, but the thing is, it's a little sports car, sort of.
Is it?
A little bit. I mean, it is. It's an Eclipse. It's not like a. It's not a.
Ferrari.
It's not a Ferrari, but it's a little low-end sports car. I mean, it's definitely not a sedan, you know?
Yeah.
It has a good engine, it's a good make, it's a Japanese car. These are still around.
So you're lucky, you got lucky with a good model. Because, you know, most of the Mitsubishis, you'll know a lot of people, they always would recommend a lot of other cars but I told them the truth. If it's a good model and it works, stick with it. He said it runs good. So I told him this is my advice.
Doesn't burn oil or anything.
Yeah.
You know?
In the beginning I said you probably want to get rid of it, but I said if it really runs good, stick with it. I said that, right?
Yeah.
It's just fine.
The engine purrs still, you know, after, you know, it has 112,000 miles.
Which is not much mileage.
Yeah, but it's a 20-year-old car. 20 years old.
Sure.
Like the corrosion, the plastics are old, you know, in this heat, the plastics, they kind of go bad after like.
And we can preserve that on the channel. You'll see, definitely subscribe. You'll see how to preserve your plastics with silicone spray on the channel and metal protector so it doesn't rust. So we got a lot of stuff for that on the channel, which will help your car run longer and stronger. That's what we'll do on the channel. So definitely subscribe and ask him the other things. So after this whole Coil episodes, a heart arrhythmia, what happened after that? What was the next digging the hole deeper?
Well, the oil gasket cover, that was bad. The gasket.
What made it go bad? Was it just old age?
Old
was
age,
it maybe
old
not
age.
good quality oil? What do you think it was?
No, just
primarily
old age.
just old age.
I think primarily just
All right.
it's just worn out.
Valve cover gasket.
Which had the oil leak in the coils and the spark plugs and whatever.
So on this motor, once that leaked, it leaked into that whole area.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So what's the next thing they replaced?
They replaced that. They replaced the timing belt.
Oof.
And I'm not sure. They didn't tell me they replaced the water pump and the whole shebang, which they should have because you're supposed to replace all that at once. I don't think they did. So the coils, spark plugs, the cover gasket, oil gasket, whatever that is.
Valve cover gasket.
Valve cover, yeah. The timing belt. Okay, it's June 2023. $1,500, $1,500 for all that, which is like.
Is that including parts, labor, and everything?
That's including parts, labor, and everything, but that's like way too much. You know what I mean? For what it is.
Well, I'm going to be honest. It depends on the quality of the shop, the overhead. So if you went to a thing down on Boulder Highway in the middle of nowhere, and no one speaks English, you know, $505 is a good price. You go somewhere in Silicon Valley, small little nugget area. They don't have much time for this stuff. You know, $27.30 is a good price. So sense. You're somewhere in the middle, but for where you took it, the way you make it sound, it seemed like it was a little on the higher side because it wasn't that nice of a shop.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to mention what shop it is because I don't want to ruin these people. But
they didn't go crazy. But you're saying it's just a little bit on the pricier side. Yeah. And you learn from it now.
Yeah, because like it's you're absolutely right. It depends where. Like if it's in the suburbs, you're gonna pay a lot more.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. What else should they know about this whole experience? Is the car running good now?
The car runs good, but the thing is, what I've learned from it is like you really have to be hyper vigilant, you know.
Nice.
And you have to kind of like really, instead of following that, like, you know, oh my God, it's my car. It's like my son or my daughter or whatever, you know. That's how people feel about their cars, right?
Sure.
So instead of just jumping at I gotta take care of this as soon as possible. You know, hold on, wait a sec, shop around. They give you an estimate. Don't bite the bullet. Be like, okay, let me think about it. See if you can find something better or someone more trustworthy, and then tow your car if you have AAA. You have 3 or 4 of it from them to someone else.
Good advice.
To someone else.
Repeat the AAA thing again to let them know about it.
Yeah. The AAA thing, you get 3 or 4 tows a year, and it's worth it because instead of having to pay like $1,000 more, you know what I mean? You just saved $1,000 by taking your car somewhere. Just follow your gut feeling, follow your intuition.
Sure.
And just don't go like, okay, I gotta like take care of this as soon as I can because it's you know, it's my car. You know, and it made me think about that, how we get attached to as if it's my body.
To nothing.
Like I have cancer now. It's like, oh, the muffler is like what's this sound? You know, like.
Yeah. And it's not a big deal at all. It could just be something loose.
Yeah. It's like, or whatever. You don't have a car for a week, big deal.
Yeah,
you know?
You're just fine without it. And I actually encourage people, always get out in the community. Try Uber and Lyft, taking an Uber or Lyft. I actually try it every few months just to experience it. Oftentimes I meet very, 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 very colorful people, colorful drivers getting out in the community. So I think there's nothing wrong with doing that, and people say it's a lot of money. It's actually nothing. I've actually done deep numbers. Personal Uber and Lyft driver here in Vegas, and I came out to like $560 a month. If you live somewhat near your work and stuff, $560 a month in rides. I mean, that's the average car payment's like $691 a month. So, I mean, if you compare it to that, if you live within 5 miles of your work, it's not that much money. $600 a month in rides. So it's like, I get a lot of people, they go, oh, I got to have a car. And it's like, most people don't. You know, now if you live in Houston, Texas, and you're going to Nashville every other week on business, well, you got to drive from Houston to Nashville. I mean, that's a hell of a drive.
Or you have a drug habit too.
Yeah.
Now you're buying, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You had better have a damn car, because you're not going to paying a limousine to take you from Houston to Nashville. Now, then again, if you own one of the big, you know, fuel manufacturers in Houston, well, then maybe you can just have a private jet at that point. That's a good idea. No, I'm just messing around, but you know, it's so true. And you know, you get into trouble so quick. And I think the most important takeaways are do due diligence, check the Google Maps, get out there in the community, ask a lot of questions, see if someone else would refer them there, and see if they work on these vehicles a lot. A lot of people now are specialists, and specialists will just admit to themselves, they say, you know what? I know nothing, absolutely nothing, except this one thing.
You mentioned a Google, that's really important. Always like look at the lowest reviews. Always look at the lowest, because people are quick to jump the gun to just to say, oh, they did a great job, because they want to help. They want to, like, you know, and then later you realize, wait a second, I wrote a good review, but I actually got ripped off.
Sure.
You know,
smart.
So just read the lowest first, carefully.
Yep.
You know, pay attention to what people are saying, and then and make sure you don't reel in other people with bullshit, you know, bullshit review. You know, like, be honest.
And
you know?
look at the person's other reviews they've written about other businesses. If you didn't know this on Google, you can actually click on their profile and look at the other reviews. And you'll see a lot of people feel sorry for people. Never want to feel sorry for people or yourself. As you do that, you're looking one place. You're looking straight down, and that's where you're gonna go. Wherever you look, that's where you go. And you don't wanna just go straight into the ground. At least not yet, I think. Most people don't want to, I don't want to. Really look at those reviews, think about it, and I think you'll be really well off. Anything else we should add?
Always look up.
Yeah.
At your phone, you know, you're holding your phone, always look up like
Yep,
this.
exactly. Keep your neck straight, your shoulders back, better posture, circulation. But yeah, so that's so important. And on a positive note, if you want to try the products that'll get your vehicles to run longer and stronger, and if you want to keep your vehicles wet, lubed, and protected, I want you to subscribe, click that little notification bell. We're going to come back with Doug. We're going to share some more great information. Some people, this is secrets that they don't know about, could really help them. So we're gonna start this video series on your mechanic doesn't know how to take care of your car. Explain why down the road. So definitely subscribe to see that. Anything else we should add?
That's it.
You're the best, Doug. Thanks for being a part of the channel, man. This guy's great. He's so honest, and he's a great part of the community, and I love him for it. So check out this video here in the middle. This is a little comedy on good friend Caddyshack, the Bug Eyes, Rodney Dangerfield. I want you to watch this skit with Rodney Dangerfield. You're gonna wet your pants. Leave that comment down below and let me know what your favorite piece of advice in this was. And we'll see you back on the next one. Cheers to keeping your vehicles wet, lubed, and protected.